Good afternoon. We're going live here with Supermoms. I wanted to let you know we're coming live from Anaheim at the Bassett corporate offices, where Bassett Salon Solutions has been here for the health and wealth of the hairdresser since 2007. And I'm excited about today's topic. Not just for the guests that we have on, but to really dive into something I think is important in our industry. August 13th, 2001, it was a Monday, and my first child was born. Probably around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And my wife's a hairdresser. And the reality is hairdressers don't have, for the most part, if you're not employed by a salon, you might be working behind the chair as an independent, you're your own business owner. Where do you go? Well, you go back to work. And that's what my wife did. I mean, literally August 21st was a Tuesday. So 8 days after her, after we have our first child, she's back in the salon doing hair again. Is that unique to the hairdresser world? I don't think so. I think I think there's a lot of hairdressers that do that. Their maternity leave is typically short, and they get back to work. They've got clients to deal with. And so, whatever that planning might be. So I just thought this would be a great topic to get into, get some interesting advice. This last year, obviously with COVID, presented all kinds of different challenges, right? I mean, when we started looking at the way people's schedules set up, kids couldn't go back to school. What do you do? So there was all kinds of creative ideas came out and people helping each other. And so I thought that was really cool during this 12 months to learn how people really dealt with maybe staying at home or, just couldn't have kids back at school or those kind of things. But, we're going to really kind of dive into, having a baby in the salon and being a mom and the things that you've got to deal with that you didn't before having a baby. And so I think it's really cool. So we've got a really special guest coming back to join us, SHERRI Belanger from Bella String. She's going to join us here in about 2 seconds, actually probably about 30. And we're also going to have Steve Gomez back, and he's going to touch base on the money aspect of when you have a child and being behind the chair, and some of the insights that he's helped with over the years, to help stylists get to have successful, either maternity leave or back, and some of the things you're going to do with your clients. Obviously, if you're a single dad, those things are going to certainly interest you as well. Talk a little bit about the relationships and those kind of things. And SHERRI was willing to be really open about some of the challenges. And I think you'll find the stories are cool, talking about relationships and sex and giving birth and then what do you do afterwards and all the other stuff that goes in with it, right? So SHERRI was going to be really open. I'm really excited to have her here. So let's bring on SHERRI, and let's bring on Steve at the moment. I know some of you are going to have some requests to come in, and we're going to bring you, if you want to join our room here on Instagram Live, we'll chat with you and bring you in if you have some insights. We'd love to hear from you and have you share. So here we are. We got SHERRI Belanger and Steve Gomez. Welcome to the show again. I certainly enjoyed the last time the three of us were together. It was awesome. And what brought this about is we hung up and we kind of sat together and kind of did a debrief of our talk, and you were holding that baby. And I said,
Yeah.
you know what I think would be really cool is let's talk about, super moms having babies while they're behind the chair. It's just not that easy, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just not.
Well, it's something no one's really talking about, I guess. So I think it was a great idea to bring a conversation around it.
Yeah, no, and it's so important, right? I mean, it happens often. I mean, we're, and again, this is not to take away anything from a single dad behind the chair. This is just really just a conversation about, man, our industry is, I don't know what the percentages of women to men in the industry and whatnot, but, being a single mom is certainly part of our industry and a big part of our industry as well. So you may or may not have a spouse, whatever, but it's a great topic.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely is. And, you know, I just can't wait to sit back and listen to Sherri talk about it for a hot minute, because I don't know anything about it other than the salon owners that I help. You know, I'm excited to share some different ways that anybody watching this live, or anybody that's going to watch the recording, to really get themselves financially organized around working less but still making the same amount of money, creating more time and balance at home, so that you don't have to feel like you're suffering through and having to trudge through it, because you're going to be going through so many other ups and downs and emotions and all the physicalness of it. So, you know, taking the time now to get organized around it. If you're an owner listening to this, helping your team who's going to be going through this, who is pregnant, having a real meaningful and structured conversation around, this is what we're going to do. It's great stuff. So thanks for having me, Ward.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The one thing I have noticed in the salon business in my 30 years is seems like when one pregnancy gets happens at the salon, all of a sudden we have 4, 5, 6. You ever notice that?
Well, what's funny, when I was pregnant, there were 3 of us pregnant at once. And my team at the time, I think there were like 15 of us, and we were all 6 weeks apart from each other.
Oh my
gosh. That was really fun, actually, having 3 of us in the salon pregnant at the same time to go through.
What was in the water, right?
Yes, so that's what they say, right? All of the clients are like, do not give me that water. I don't want to drink it.
Oh, it's great. So Sherri, let's just jump right in. Let's go back. We're 9 months out. Walk us through some of the planning that you did and some of the ideas that you took and said, okay, this is what my 9 months is going to look like.
Well, I should start by sharing that my daughter is 2.5 years old. So I'm going back in time a little bit here. And it was a planned thing. Like my husband and I decided to try, and I was kind of methodical about it. I had opened my salon already, and it was up and running for a few years. So I tried to kind of do it by my own book, and I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. So things were gravy, everything was kind of running itself while I was pregnant. But then, plot twist, I think I was 7.5 months pregnant, and I lost 4 stylists. I lost a front desk person. We were having issues with our POS. So there was like this whole shift that needed to happen in the business. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like exhausted. I'm working a lot too, to try to get all my clients in. It's like you're trying to create a system to be gone. So, and I remember in that moment, hormonal too, and like saying aloud to my husband, like, this is why they say women shouldn't be CEOs, which is so ass backwards to my belief system. But in that moment, growing a human and wearing all the hats and kind of in a rebuilding, I was like, holy shit, this is really hard. But women are superheroes, and, got through it just fine. But yeah, I mean, it was, I think there's so many layers we can go to this, but I think it's one of those things. I think a lot of hairdressers were artists. We're kind of like fly by the seat of our pants. We're not like structured per se, but when you get pregnant, you have 9 months to make plans and think it through, and it is going to change the future of your business. So like Steve was saying, it's like, you got to be smart about it and think about, how much time you want to take off for maternity leave, what's going to happen to your clients in your absence, what's going to happen to your team in your absence, your team who is your original children, however many people work for you, and then what the future is going to look like once you go back to the salon. So the great thing is you have time to make plans, but you got to make the plans.
Got to make plans. So. Yeah, it's crazy to think about. You're going through this process, and not going through the process of having a baby. I'm saying going through this process of thinking through like what's happening. Yet you're still going to work with your clients, right? And one of the things that I was wondering, it's like, okay, you're going through this 9 months or 8.5 months or so working behind the chair. Are your clients coming in, like every single one of them, asking you about the baby?
Yeah, especially once you start showing, once it's there, I mean, your clients become invested too. But I will say, I think I've only had one daughter, right? So I don't know if it's like by baby 3, you're tired of talking about it, but it was really fun and sweet to talk to clients about it. And so many clients were moms already. And so for me, it was just like picking advice from every single person that wanted to talk about it. So it wasn't annoying. It's like, it's an exciting time and exciting to talk about.
All right. No, that's good. That's good.
I would have to say when you're thinking about planning and development, you said something, Sherry, that kind of struck me. I think in the first few months, it's probably the best time to really start thinking about the long-term planning. Like, okay, I'm in month 1, I'm in month 2. What is it going to look like when I'm about to have my child? And now is probably the best time for me to think about, what do I need to do financially? Because if I need to pivot, I've got 7 months to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the finance piece I'm going to bring in a little while, that should be done and thought through as early as possible so that you can manage yourself and manage the business and create the plans and let the data and the goal setting kind of lead you in the direction that you need to go, because you also just don't know how the pregnancy is going to go either. You just don't know if the last 3 months you're laid up and you can't move and you're bedridden. I mean, God forbid, but those things do happen. And the earlier you make a plan, the better. What were you doing in the early stages? Were you thinking about that? Is that something you feel you could have done?
Yeah, and I think a good starting point for anybody is kind of paint the picture of what the future is going to look like once the baby is here, and then work backwards from that, figuring out how many days you are going to start working once you have the child, what childcare is going to look like. Are you no longer going to work evenings? Are you going to be working Saturdays because your partner is going to help? Starting to think like that and look at the new hours in front of you and work backwards in regards to how many clients you're seeing and charging. For me, as an owner, it was a really awesome moment to finally say, I know I can't be working behind the chair full time anyway. You can't be a solid owner and operator within your own business. I've known that. But the first few years, it was hard to pull away from being behind the chair. So suddenly this pregnancy was like, hey, you really got to do it now. So put the ball in motion. And for me, it was about training my peers. So I'd recommend that too. I mean, whether you're training an assistant or, people within your team, you can start sharing formulas early and placements early and just kind of start making plans for who can babysit, if you will, while you're gone. And I have 2 different ways to look at that too, depending how much time you want to take off. And if you want to keep the client. So say after your maternity leave, you come back, you want to keep all your clients. I do think the hairstylists that are babysitting for you should be charging what you charge. So I don't think you should discount. I think if you've shared a formula, you've shared all the nuts and bolts of that, they're just kind of sliding in your absence, keep them at a price point. So they're not given the dangling fruit of the lower rate. If you are an owner or stylist that's going to need to kick back a little bit and you actually do want to pass along some clients, then maybe the stylist, if they charge less than you, they can charge the clients less. But I do think if anyone is going to be put in place while you're on maternity leave for X amount of time, they're kind of like following your formula. They're charging what you charge. They're just helping you out. And then once you're back to work, then you can slide back in. Does that make sense?
Love that. Makes perfect sense to me.
So that's where I was at. I had an assistant at the time, and as an owner, I have a team of stylists. So in my mind early on, I was thinking who would be a good pairing for each client, personality-wise, schedule-wise. And so I was able to kind of pass throughout the salon, and it ended up being a beautiful thing because I came back part-time and my clients needed to have other hairdressers in the salon besides me.
And again, I'll jump in and add to that, Sherry, that, when you're an independent owner and you work for yourself, even more critical that you're taking the time early on to create this type of plan, because, you're going to have to get creative. You might work in a rental salon or spa and have some other renters that work in there with you that can jump in and help you out. Or you might be in a suite and hopefully you have a good working rapport and relationship with somebody who knows how to, who serves clients at the level you do, that possibly uses the same type of color you do. There's a lot to take on. There's a lot to think about. So the earlier, the better there for sure.
And I'd say too, I mean, I'm obviously, I'm in a master stylist level. I charge a lot of money, but the stylists that were at my level, they didn't necessarily want to take on my clients. They were already booked out months. The idea of babysitting is like, well, why would I babysit your clients? So I will say this, if you can find peers that are maybe at a lower level, someone that you can take under your wing, it could be a really great mentoring opportunity to actually train an up and coming stylist that does have room on their books, because you're going to need a stylist that's hungry, that doesn't get ego involved, that they're just babysitting, and that they can learn a thing or two and just really show up and have the time versus the master stylist. And yeah, I mean, I think if you're in a suite or, you know, in an independent situation, it is time to start thinking bigger, think about your friends, or maybe you are only taking a month off. I mean, I know stylists that do that too, but I do think it's a time in those 9 months to think about your values, your priorities, what's going to be important to you, what you can afford to take off. The clients are always going to be there. The ones that drop off, they're going to drop off eventually. The loyal OGs will kind of find their way back to you. So it's definitely not a time to be completely handcuffed by that. I also think you have to think about, you know, what you can afford and what's going to be important to you as a mama when you have your little baby. And are you going to be ready to just jump back in the salon or not?
Ward, I saw Brittany Shears had a great comment there. I don't know if you caught that.
It flashed up on the comments there. Let's see, where's it at here? Brittany Shears. I have a friend passed her clients to her coworker while on maternity leave, and the coworker gave the original stylist who was on leave percentage of the money she made from each client she was doing. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's a nice coworker for sure.
Yeah, I think for me, it went not just to the skill level, but personality and sure. Who I think would be a good pair for each client too. Because I decided to take 5 months off from behind the chair once I had my daughter. And that was based off of just advice. I had my daughter when I was 35. So I quizzed everybody, every client, every girlfriend, and asked, how much time do you wish you could have taken off if you could? What would have been ideal? And across the board, it kind of seemed like by month 5, you're like kind of start itching to get back to work. So in my mind, it was like, okay, if there's a way that I can set up my business and set up my salon so I can take 5 months home with my daughter, I'm going to make that happen.
You shared with me some very personal information about your first pregnancy. How did that weigh in your decision to take 5 months off, you think?
Yeah. And so I think Ward's talking about before I got pregnant with my daughter, Rhea, I did have a miscarriage, which is so common, but that doesn't take away any bit of the pain and devastation. And I think we need to talk about it more. And I think even in the salon, you know, all we're doing is talking to clients all day long. It's very personal. We're celebrating their joys, their pregnancies, their families. And it can be a really heavy thing to carry. So I think, yeah, when I got pregnant again, there probably was a little bit of that, of not taking it for granted. And I, for my husband and I, we don't know even still if we want to have another child. So I wanted to savor that time with her. And I feel really lucky that I was able to. But yeah, and that's for hairdressers, we have to show up. Doesn't matter what baggage we have or what we're going through, we still have to show up somehow and show face. And whether you are pregnant or you lost a pregnancy, the crazy thing is, for a woman, your hormones are haywire. None of it you can control. It's so much bigger than you, what's happening to your body and your mind and everything. And even when you lose a pregnancy, your body still thinks you're pregnant for a while. So that can be a really heavy thing to be back to work. You don't feel like yourself. You have these symptoms of pregnancy. You would even still have a positive pregnant test if you went pee on a stick, but you are not pregnant. So that's crazy and heavy. And, but I think you can also, if you maybe can open up and talk about it, lean on others for support, because it's definitely common, but people don't talk about it.
Right. No, that's got to be hard. And then the clients, obviously, they understand maybe what's going on, but the client's really there to get serviced, right? And they're there to have an experience, and that sometimes is hard to talk about and weigh in on you. And you're trying to make them feel good all day at the same time dealing with something very personal. Not easy.
Yeah, no, but I mean, on the other side too, I think any hardship we hairdressers go through gives us something that we can relate in the moment our client goes through it too. Like, I have had clients over the years have a hard time get pregnant, lose baby after baby, so many struggles. And I felt sad for them, but I didn't ever fully understand the severity of it because this common thing. So the moment that happened and I could have a client break down to me in the chair and I can look them in their eyes and say, I'm with you and I know exactly what you feel and I'm sorry. That gives us that much more purpose too, and purpose to the pain.
Let me ask you a question, Sherri. After you have your child and you were blessed enough to take 5 months off, which I think in our industry is absolute rare, that, most mamas are not taking that much time off. On average, they're probably back at work within 4, maybe 5, 6 weeks. But once you get back to work and get into that rhythm, how were you managing your schedule? What were some of the ups and downs that you had to go through, lessons you had to learn in running your business while also being a new mom? And, oh yeah, I'm married too. And, oh yeah, I have things that I like. There's a pecking order there that you're last on because there's other things ahead now. So how did you manage that? What was maybe the biggest lesson you learned that next time you'll do it this way?
I think one of the best things I did to prepare was recognize I was going to have to let go of control and perfectionism over how my business was run.
Yeah.
And I had to really look at who my team was, figure out who could step up. I didn't have a manager for a while. I stood in as manager, brought in, somebody became a manager. I put people in place that I could trust. And I think that's essential because the business isn't going to run itself, and your team isn't going to want to bug you when they know you just had a baby and you're not sleeping and you're at home. So putting leadership in place to act as a support in your absence, I did that. If we get pregnant again, I will do it even more efficient. And I think, I was double booking at the time. I love double booking. I know a lot of us we don't do it as much right now with COVID, but double booking with an assistant allowed me to work in a capacity that I was comfortable with, and my clients were already familiar with it. And I was able to kind of maximize my time there. However, I went back to work at 5 months. I was still breastfeeding my daughter. Yeah. That's another thing people don't talk about. You have to pump your milk. How's this conversation, by the way, guys?
Right. No, right. I mean, listen, this is
what we want to talk about.
This is real.
I mean, you can't sit there in the middle of a foil and go, hold on a second.
Well, I mean, and now here's another thing I would do differently, because I had to work that in my schedule. I'd have to go in the bathroom. I put a sign on the door saying, "Mama pumping, we'll be out in 10 minutes. Like, what's graceful way? I had nothing else I could do. And, but they do make, pumps that can hide in your bra. And I think that would probably be the way to go instead of, the bathroom. But yeah, the things that you don't think about, and then you have to store your milk. It's
Sherri,
crazy.
would you agree with me that, because in our industry, it's got to be a perfect haircut every time. It's got to be a perfect color. We're perfectionists by nature. So then you have a child and you want to do it all. You're prone to want to do it all and want to do it all correctly. And then maybe you're not asking for help as much as you could ask for help. Do you find that that's common and that it's okay as a new mom, you know, to just lean on customers that are loyal, lean on your team? Again, if you're independent, lean on your sales consultant, lean on people in your circle of influence, and just get that little extra nudge, get that little extra help.
1,000%. And I think that's something that as women, we are used to doing it all. You know, and women are warriors, you know, like the amount of hats you can wear, and you're used to juggling it. But sure, throw a tiny human into the mix. It does twist it up. And yes, Steve, asking for help is like one of the best lessons I've learned too. And recognizing how many people in your world want to help. Or, you know, say in your salon team, how many people, maybe like you're not going to be able to manage the Instagram or just whatever the hell, there's probably somebody in there that would love to take it on. Someone that would love to order color, someone that would love to, you know, do social media, someone that would love to do your marketing. And yeah, leaning on your peers and your circle to help you, because you really can't. Before kid, and I'm speaking as a salon owner a lot in this conversation, even though I am a hairdresser, as a salon owner to a team, I think at the time I had 15, 18 stylists, you know, it really, and I'm sure you've heard this, Steve, it's like you are the mama already to your team. And so suddenly you do have a real baby that needs you first, that is going to suffer. You got to figure out, if you've been showing up 100% for your team, putting yourself aside, like I think I was aside for the first 4 years of owning my salon. I don't know what I did. I can't even tell you what I did for myself, but it didn't matter because I loved it. But yeah, throw the baby in the mix, and that's gone. Like, you got to figure out how your team is going to still valued and appreciated, how the business is still going to be showing up. You can't just suddenly have a baby and not post on Instagram anymore, or stop responding to direct messages, or disconnecting from clients. Like, just because your life stalls, if you want your business to continue to flourish long term, you have to find a way to show up. And if you can't do it, you got to like check in with your circle.
Well, one of the things that we saw during COVID, which I think it brings you right to this point, you know, we saw that stylists would get together, even if they were from different salons, that they had similar aged children, and you know, they changed their schedule, which I thought was interesting. They said, okay, you know, you're going to watch our 3 kids on this day, and the 3 of us will, or the, you know, the four moms got together. You know, they're going to watch 4 kids one day, and the next mom's going to watch the 4 kids the next day, and so on and so forth. Or, you know, they trade off during the day. Did you try any of that in your own salon, or was that even something you guys considered? Or?
No, I think the 3 of us that had babies within 6 weeks from each other, we were all fortunate to we found childcare and support. If anything, we would get together on our day off and try to like go for a walk together with the kids. But yeah, we were fortunate enough to kind of plan and not do that.
Yeah, lucky. That's good. That's really good. Talk about, okay, postpartum, right? Emotional swings. We went through the other idea of, you know, pumping milk, and you've got to work through things that just come with post-pregnancy. So advice for staying positive or keeping your emotions in check. What do you got there?
I just think women need to be realistic about it and patient with themselves, and just kind of like enjoy the ride. It's so short-lived, and it's over before you know it. And obviously, if postpartum is truly getting in the way of work and life, to, you know, reach out to your partner or doctor and seek help. And fortunately, I don't think I had, in hindsight, I'm like, I probably did have a little bit of it, because I remember, like, you know, the mood swings and everything, but nothing severe. But yeah, to definitely, you know, talk to your doctor and just kind of like expect it, but enjoy it. I mean, it's, you know, it's over before you know it. And like now, even looking back, I'm like, that was really sweet, like spending 10 minutes in the bathroom pumping and
Right.
having to like figure it out. And
It's a memory, right?
yeah,
It's a memory. I
yeah.
can tell. I can tell you as a husband with my wife's a hairdresser, as you guys know, and we've had 3 kids. So for me, if a spouse, whatever your spouse is going to have needs too, right? So you're juggling the needs of your spouse, the clients, all those things. But I also think, and I might get, who knows what kind of darts I'll get thrown at me from husbands, but, for me, my wife wanted to maintain doing clients. And so, I made it a point to know her schedule and free my schedule so that I could be with the kids. I think it's it was such a help for her because, I mean, sure, you might say the same thing. It's like behind the chair, money's great, but that's not why you do hair.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the love of the clients. It's the love of the creativity, right? And so I recognize that in my wife, and but how she dealt with my needs, plus the kids, plus the clients, 7, 8, 9, 10 clients a day, not easy. How'd you keep from bringing that home, knowing that you work with clients all day, they're telling you stories all day, and then you got to go home and work with your husband and your baby.
Should bring my husband in here and see what his opinion. I mean, I don't know. I think I also think too in that time, I want to ask him now what he would say, but I don't think I was as concerned about him. I was concerned about keeping the business afloat, time with my daughter. What was really sweet is my husband works from home, pre-COVID even. So we were around each other a lot. And if I needed help to take a shower, he could be with my daughter. And so that was a beautiful thing for us. And then when I was behind the chair, and I mean, he's just like the sweetest guy, like massage my feet and back every day and make dinner and like no complaints. So I think maybe he just recognized how much I was giving and he wasn't really asking of me. And I had a really hard delivery too. Like I was induced early and I was in labor for like 70 hours and I was a mess. Like and the type of labor, I ended up having a forceps delivery, which is something I never even knew existed, but it's not good. It's kind of crazy what can happen. But I was like down and out for the count almost that entire 5 months after my daughter was born. I could hardly sit down. I was not good. So that's another thing we could, consider. Like you can plan all you want, but the magic of a child and how they're going to come and what that's going to look like, it's also, you can plan all you want. And,
Good.
But so I think he recognized just where I was in, and luckily he wasn't, I don't know if he needed of me. He just was a really great daddy and partner.
Yeah, that's great. Good.
But I bet we'll bring him in and see if he next live.
Hey, so let's talk about this. And there's a question that came in, and I think it's a good question. And Steve, this is kind of going to preempt as we get into the financial side. But now as a salon owner,
yeah.
I didn't know we were going to go down this path, but I think it's a good path to go down. What is the policy in your salon for maternity leave? Now, and the reason I asked that is twofold. One, you own a salon and you do employee-based activities, but there are also salons out there that have a rental base of business, and they're going to go on maternity leave
rent too, so I have both in my salon.
So you got both. So, right? Are we charging them rent while they're out on maternity leave? Or are we not? How long are you letting people go? Why don't you touch base on that? I think that's an interesting topic that we really didn't have in our notes, but I think it's an important one.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and I think when you're a younger hairdresser, or maybe building a family is like the last thing on your mind, you don't really think about that. And then, I think as you get older and your priorities shift, I can speak to, say, an employee model where you have job security, you don't have overhead, you can show up to work, you can leave, someone's taking care of everything for you. Oh, and by the way, you have maternity leave, disability, paid family leave, all these things. Suddenly, can look really fantastic when you're in that season of life. Whereas a younger stylist might be like, screw that. I want to do it all. I want all the control. So yes, in my salon, I do have both options. And yeah, my employee commission stylists, they can take whatever time off they need. And then they can collect from the state however they need to. And we take care of their clients. We help with everything. And I mean, what if I have a stylist who had a really hard pregnancy like I did and needed 5 months off, but they were going to come back? I would totally grant that. And on the flip side, a booth renter who made a decision to be an independent business owner within my building, taking on all the responsibilities that come with that. I might be a hard ass, but that's not a hall pass to get free rent. And if someone wants to secure their chair, that's something that you have to think about. And when we were all pregnant in my salon at the same time, one of the stylists was an employee. I pay myself as an employee, and my other stylist was a renter, and my renter still paid rent. But she understood. She understood that, in COVID world, that's been really, it's been like the tornado of rent, not whatever. But in real life, just as I do as a business owner, if I decide to take 5 months off, I am still paying my overhead. I'm still paying my rent. So yeah, it is something to think about, and it might change the dynamic of what's most important to you once you're getting to that season in life as a stylist.
Yeah, that, and for a salon owner, one, I think you probably should have that in place before somebody does rent a chair, right? I mean,
Totally.
There's a rather large chain of suites that was started. And if you ever know her story, it's amazing. But, she's laying in bed at the hospital, baby on her chest, gets a call from the salon owner. Congratulations, where's your rent? Right? So, it's one thing to expect rent, but it's another thing to, what it caused though is it caused that, that stylist to leave and then open her own business and become highly successful. But, if there was something in writing as it pertains to rent or it pertains to maternity leave, obviously, if you have employees, you have a obligation to have it in writing. But as a rental salon, you don't have to have that obligation, but you should. You should have it in writing, and you should really think about it.
And Ward, I do in my rental.
I would agree with that. It's got to be, I think it needs to be written into the rental agreement as a covenant of the contract so that everybody is on the same page. I would find it rare that story, you'd think that 9 out of 10 times most rental salon owners are going to work with their renters that are going to be out on maternity leave, but you're going to have those rare occasions. But I think everything should be written into an agreement on any side. If I'm it should be in my employee handbook. If I work in a hourly or commission business, it should be in my rental agreement if I'm a renter, for sure.
Yeah, and there's some, Miranda's putting some things in there about, there should be something there for free. And it really kind of depends on the business owner's, financials, right? Or what they agree to, or, hey, renting here, you get, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month's free rent if they can afford to do it. God bless you, right? And it's so, whatever it is, it should definitely be in writing and understood by everybody so that, somebody's not getting surprised. Oh, I had my baby, and the owner of the salon's go, where's my rent? Where's my rent? That doesn't put anybody in a great position.
I think it also comes down to trust at the end of the day, Ward. I mean,
yep.
If you intend on having a child and you work in a business right now where this hasn't been discussed or there isn't really a set plan, then start having conversations, because why would you want to catch yourself in the crosshairs where you just had a child and now you got somebody trying to impose something on you and you have to go through that mess, So get your ducks in a row and find out, are these people really going to be there for me? Because yes, there's a business agreement and you have to honor it, but there's also the cultural part of it. There's also the human beings and who do I want to work with? What are their values? Very, very, very important.
Very important, and those kind of things. Being flexible, obviously, is the best.
Yes.
you've got a plan, but being flexible. But to Sherri's point,
And you know, Ward, I'm just going to throw this out there for any rental salon owner out there that, all right, now we're coming through COVID and you really need every dollar. Totally get it. You know, but you're thinking short term if you're going to impose a rental fee quickly on somebody who's out on maternity leave. Whatever that rent is a month, you can start for 9 months prior to that baby showing up to start saving up and squirreling the cash flow. You can work with that renter to help them increase their add-ons, to help them drive more retail so that they're bringing in more cash flow for themselves, and they can actually squirrel a few months of rent away that they can actually pay in advance for. Anything is possible if we all sit down and make plans. I think a lot of times what we forget is that we're sitting on an income producing machine. If I have a business like Sherri's and I've got 15 people working behind the chair plus me, that's 16 income producing machines. If I own a rental business and there's 9 renters, that's 9 income producing entities. So even if I'm working with Sherri because she's pregnant, and all right, let's look at your cash flow. Let's look at how many clients you're doing, and let's create a realistic plan so that I'm covered and you're covered, that we take care of each other and we got each other's back. That's what needs to be happening. And anything can if we're tracking and we have all the information that we need in front of us.
Well, and it goes back to like the common things here is like communication, transparency, and trust. You know, if we all can lead that way and not, you know, kind of be quiet about it and then wait and see what happens.
That's the worst.
You know, that's silly. And again, we have 9 months. You find out you're pregnant, you have a lot of time to make plans and have these conversations with the owner or salon or boss. And if you are a renter and you're concerned, or you want to figure out a way to save money in your absence, it's really important to you to take more time off. You know, maybe you sit with the owner and see if there is something. Maybe you decide to employ an assistant and train them, and maybe your assistant is actually working in your chair while you're on maternity leave. And these are things that should be discussed with the landlord and salon owner anyway. So there's a lot of different things that can happen, but it just takes being, you know, transparent, communicating, and recognizing you have the time to make the plan. So be responsible.
Right. Now that's big. And, you know, Alicia Orabella is on here. She commented about how her team where she was working, I want to say that they would pitch in together and help pay rent a little bit longer through maternity leave so people would take some time off. I think that's how she put it. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, cool to get a team together like that. If you want to join us, if any of the audience wants to join us live for a question, we got a few minutes. Just request in. I just asked you to keep it nice, obviously. But if you have a question or comment, just request to go live with us. We can take one at a time, and we're happy to do that.
And then Ward, you want me to get into some finance stuff here? You just let me know, brother.
I will. We're going to go in about 4 minutes there, Steve. So perfect. You know, that's important. Sherri, where was I going with this? Because we got sidetracked on the policies.
I know.
Did you have an employee go out and not come back after having a baby?
No, they came back.
They came back. That's good.
Yep, they came back. Both the renter and the employee both came back, and yeah, it was. But we talked through it, knew what to expect. They came back, and we worked with hours and everything coming back. Good.
Miranda had a question that says, how soon should you set up your client up with a stylist? So in other words, at what point during that 9 months did you say, okay, I'm going to start moving people over? Did you move everybody at once, all 100 clients, or did you put two one day, two the next?
Now, a great idea is to figure out, start looking at your clients, look at your referral program that you're going to have working for you with stylists. And then at some point in the early stage, introduce your client to one of those stylists. So they, hey, this is so-and-so. She's going to be helping me when I'm on maternity leave. Make sure they get to know each other. And I mean, I would obviously take care of your clients up until you can't anymore. whatever that looks like for you. For me, I worked up until 37 weeks. And then I had a surprise just a few days later. I had to get induced anyway. So, but for me, I felt good. So up until 37 weeks, I was taking care of my clients. But say I couldn't fit anybody in there, that was the perfect time to start referring them out within the salon.
Bree brings up a good question, right? And so you're working in a suite. You're a suite owner, you're a salon owner, but you're a single salon owner. You don't have somebody just to move your clients over. What advice do you have there? I mean, where do you go?
And that's heavy too, I think, in a suite, because you are still, Bree, I mean, you're responsible for all the overhead too. And I mean, it could be, you just really got to check with your resources, maybe see who else is in the suites around you, see who's doing like-minded hair and kind of running a like-minded business, and I hate to say it, but we all also just recognize how long we can go without getting our hair done when we were forced to with the closures. So maybe you're only taking 2 months off, and, maybe that's tough. You don't really know what to do, but if you don't have anybody to refer, you can't refer everybody, the loyal clients, I think, will wait for you. Or this could be a time too, maybe you're doing color kits again. A lot of what we had to learn in COVID closures can be duplicated on a leave.
You can apply it here, leave. Have you thought about if somebody does take over your clientele for 7, 8, 9 months, whatever it might be, or longer, or 5 months, as you said, have you thought about offering a bonus or something of that? Hey, if you keep all of them, I'll give you a bonus. Bringing them all back, anything of that nature, any incentives?
I didn't, but I think my team, they felt already the pressure. It was like every time my client was sitting in their chair, it was like, oh crap, it's Sherri's client. Like, okay, show up. And so I didn't do that, but I think that would be, a beautiful thing too. And I think as the stylist that is on maternity leave, maybe you can set up and send some email blasts from time to time, connecting with your clients, saying, I'm thinking of you. Thank you for, waiting for me, allowing this time with my, kid, and I can't wait to see you soon, and kind of keeping lines of communication open there so they know that you are coming back, you're still in the wings, in case maybe their highlights aren't 100% what you used to do. They know that you're just around the corner.
All right, cool. Steve, we got about 13 minutes left, and I really want to jump into the planning of money. So let's go, right, we're month 1.
Okay.
Give us kind of your hot tips on what you need to be planning for money-wise.
Well, I think, Ward, first and foremost, you should have a monthly budget and know exactly what you need in your personal life to run your life and what you need the salon to be generating so you can do that. And then if you own the salon, then you really need to be looking at what is going to happen from a financial perspective while you're out on maternity leave. Obviously, if you're going to transfer all of your guests to other people on your team, the goal there is to maintain all of those guests. But there's so many people that are out there working on their own. I think it's critical to say this. It's time to get uncomfortable if you get pregnant from a financial perspective. And what I mean by that is you're probably living off of everything that you're generating behind the chair, plus tips and rental commission. So maybe start getting uncomfortable by not living off of your tips, but saving them, not living off your retail commission, but saving that. You've got 9 months to do it. So go backwards 3 months prior to getting pregnant and add up on average how much in tips you're generating monthly as an average, how much retail commission you're getting as an average each month. Take that data and say, okay, over the next 9 months here, how much am I intent on saving? How much could I really have based on what my volume is looking like today? Also, raise your prices. Now, if you work in a business, find out what you got to do. If you're in a level business, what do I have to do to get to the next level? So I could jump up in commission, probably jump up in price. But how can I plan for that rainy day? Because you know, like Sherri's story, she didn't know she was going to be sidelined for 5 months. She wanted to be out for the first 5 months, but she didn't know she was going to get her ass kicked in the pregnancy, you know, when she delivered, and that she would need those 5 months. So you just don't know what's going to happen. So while you have the opportunity and while you can continue to work, make that plan, save the tips, raise the prices, save your retail commission, know exactly how much 3 months of cash flow would be, and work towards saving to have that. So the last thing you're doing is not being able to work, worrying about your newborn, but worrying about making a buck and paying a bill, and where is it going to come from? And then what do? Oh, well, we jack up credit cards because I can't work. So now I'm just going to live off of credit cards until I can get back to work. So now you're going back to work with debt, and you're stressed, and you're behind the 8 ball even more than you were before. I think it's also important to talk to the Sherris of the world and say, hey, how much did your monthly expenses go up now that you had the kid? Because yeah, you have the baby showers, but now you've got doctor's appointments, and now you've got diapers, and now you got all these other things to buy. So how much was that monthly nut? How much did that go up? And am I ready for that? So I think those things are very, very critical. Another point that is important for the owner who is having a child and you have a business to run is you've gotta look towards working at least one less day behind the chair when you come back from maternity leave, because now you do have your child and your hubby and a business to run and clients to see, and you got to give yourself more balance, because if we don't take that at least that one day, then you're doing all your business stuff on Sundays and Mondays, and you're desperate to be with your kid, but you can't because you got to go do inventory and you got to do the supply run, and you think you have to do it all yourself. So it comes back to that conversation again. So look at if you're going to work one less day and you're paying yourself what you do behind the chair or in a treatment room, then do some math. And here's how this goes. Go back over 3 months and get a daily average of what you're producing. Going back over 3 months gives you a really good, healthy trend to base that math off of, as opposed to just looking at back to last week, versus this week, which is variant. So go back over the last 3 months, get an average. Let's say you're averaging $500 a day, okay, and that you're used to keeping half of that. So you're paying yourself $250 a day. So what you need to do is you need to replace $250 a day. So how are you going to do that? Well, if you work with the team, obviously, again, we're talking about raising prices. We're talking about add-ons. I wouldn't touch the retail money. I just focus on the service dollars to do this. Let the retail profit be what that needs to be for the company. So focus on add-ons. Say, okay, I got 5 other people here. When we're all growing add-ons, I got 5 other people seeing 10 people a day, seeing 5 people a day. So that's 25 people. Okay. And if they all increase their add-ons by $10 more a day per guest, what does that look like? Well, 25 times 10, that's 250 right there. So do the math, look at your data, focus on supporting your team to grow. Oh, they're making more money. And then their increase is going to cover that 250 for you. Now, that's one way to look at it. Now, you're also going to move those clients over time to other guests so you can get that day back. So if I'm going to move Ward to Sherri, then I'm going to have Sherri shadow me at least 1 or 2 times with Ward based on how finicky Ward is about and his loyalty with me. Ward might be really easeful and I can move Ward quickly. So I have Sherri come in for 1 visit. I have Sherri do the shampoo. I have Sherri close out the service, maybe do the blowout, whatever. So Sherri's getting her hands and hearts in there with Ward, working with him, creating the intimacy. I'm setting her up. I'm setting him up. I'm not just doing this, like, all right, you're going to work with Sherri now, Ward. I'm having them work with each other and build rapport. If Ward needs a little bit more time, then maybe it's a second, possibly even a 3rd visit. And then I move on, so that way I can have my business time back, and I've set both of them up. Another way to look at it is you take that average per day that you're doing, and then let's be profitable around it. So let's add 10% profit for the company on top of that number. So let's add another $50 on there. So not only are you paying you, but the business is getting paid on top of it. Why not prosper in this whole thing? Why? Because we have the data and we've got 9 months and we can figure out exactly how we want it to go. And then we march in that direction. Now, if I am going to give that client, if I'm giving Ward to SHERRI, I got to pay SHERRI. So I'm not just looking for the half that I was going to get off of working with Ward. I got to now pay SHERRI hers. So not only do I need to do 500 plus profit, I need to do 500 plus I got to pay SHERRI her half, plus I got to cover back bar, plus I got to cover credit card processing. Oh, and I got to cover payroll tax too. So I invite all of you to listen back to this part of our conversation. I'll say them all again. If I'm sending Ward to SHERRI and I'm used to getting 100 from Ward, now I got to give SHERRI 50 of that plus payroll tax. So that's going to be another $5. Then I got to cover back bar. So there's another $5. And then I got to cover credit card processing. So there's another $2, right? So all of a sudden that $100 I was used to getting 50 of, I'm probably getting 25 of. So what do I need to do? Well, I need to focus on, that's why I'm focusing on increasing prices. That's why I'm focusing on driving more cash flow, managing tips. That's why I'm going to set a goal that's going to be realistic and say, okay, average I make per day plus payroll and back bar and all those hard costs. Now I know a real number I need to do. I don't just need to grow by $50. I need to grow by $75 or $80 in order to do this. So now I'm attacking a more realistic number that takes care of all the expenses of moving Ward. And I think that we don't think that way. We miss that. And then what happens is we come back from maternity leave a lot sooner because we didn't set ourselves up to really do this the right way. Or we don't think we can take that day, Ward, because we're going to lose the money when all of this can be planned. So if anybody's listening to this, I have a spreadsheet from my book, Financial Fitness, and it's called How to Replace a Day. And I walk through all the formulas I was just talking about is in the spreadsheet. And if you're watching this, it's my gift to you, all of you future to be moms or moms that are out there that need the extra day. Email me or send me a message here on Instagram at Salon Coach SJG, or email me info@stephengomez.net. That's STEPHENGOMEZ.net. We want you to have your financial life working for you while you're having this new life with you as well.
So Steve, can somebody that's in a suite, can they use that spreadsheet to plan for their time off?
Absolutely can, because that spreadsheet's all about taking the average and then adding in the additional expense involved, adding in profit and planning for that. So that way you're actually generating more cash flow for yourself. You can take that number and it's going to bring it down to a daily average ticket goal per guest, whether you work individually or with a team of people. So obviously the more income providers you have, the lower that average is going to be. But if you work for yourself, you can say, okay, I would need to grow by $25 more per guest. So it's incumbent upon me to increase prices and drive add-ons. And I've got to do a mixture of a few things to get to that magic number.
Right. What do you think they should plan? Maybe Sherry, you can ask this. I mean, Bree had a question about is it hard to jump back into the routine as in a salon after coming back from maternity leave? Well, let's double up that question and thought there. What can a stylist really expect if they're off for 4 weeks or 8 weeks and they come back in the salon, whether they're in a suite or not? Are they coming back to an 80% clientele base, 50%, 75%? And it does that weigh on you. I mean, what do they do there? We got a short minute to discuss.
Oh. Well, I mean, you might lose people, but I mean, you're probably working less anyway. So like Steve was saying, if you're upping the value of the service and the ticket, hopefully it can come full circle. And I'll say it's a twofold. It's hard getting back in the swing, but then it feels really good getting back in the swing of things and almost like getting your identity back a little bit. And I want to throw this in an idea too for suite owners. you know, talking about like what Bassett offers with the direct ship, if you are selling retail in your suite, Bassett makes it really easy to still continue selling retail while you're not in the salon. So say you are still paying your rent in your suite, but you have a system lined up with your retail, you could still be utilizing that and generating income while you're on maternity leave, while the baby's just sleeping on you anyway. You can definitely be in your phone and do direct ship, and that would be a great idea.
Thanks for the plug, but
it really would be though. That would be a smart. Any suite owner should be utilizing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Salon
Awesome.
owners, salon owners obviously can take advantage of that. That's absolutely right. When you think about a salon owner, you don't just, especially if you're a single salon owner, you don't lock the door or not pay the landlord. They're coming to ask. Some of the suite owners may allow you to, forego some rent. I don't know, but for the most part, they're going to be looking for it. So that is great. It's a great idea. You guys, it's been a wonderful thing. Any last comments, Steve?
Thanks for having us. Great idea. I think it's an important conversation that needs to be had. And I just want to end by reminding everybody that anything's possible with planning. And take your time, catch your breath, get your feet on the ground, and ask yourself how you want it to go, so that you're saving for that rainy day and you're ready, so you can be at peace and you can really be present to the miracle that you've created.
Sherri, anything?
That too, and I would say take advantage of Steve's offer for the free spreadsheet. That's awesome. Definitely email him. And yeah, like I said earlier, paint the picture of what you want that maternity leave and that next season of life to be as a mom, and work backwards from there. Anything is possible. I'm living proof of it, and you can still continue to grow professionally, financially, and all the ways. It's all possible.
Would you? Do you let stylists bring their baby to the salon?
I don't think any of them want to bring their baby to the salon. If they wanted to visit, you can't get anything done with your child. I will say that you can't get anything done when you are watching your child.
I'll never forget at my wife's salon. Just a quick story. She brought my middle child, brought him to the salon one day, and I just happened to be stopping by to go pick him up. He was there for a little while, right? I remember the salon owner was behind the chair working, and I see my kid as I walk in. He leaves the couch, starts running, jumps on one of those rodeo style stools, and rides that thing all the way through the salon. I just thought, oh my goodness, right? And the salon owner just looking at him going, oh.
And that is parenting.
That is parenting, right?
There.
That is parenting. I certainly appreciate you too. That's Stephen Gomez. That's Sherri Belanger at Bella Serene. I love you guys. I really appreciate you taking the time. You guys take care of yourselves. I'm Ward Bassett. This is For the Health and Wealth of the Hairdresser. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks for another episode. I think you're going to like this next one coming up about money.
Take care, everybody. Bye.